Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the honor of being here today with you to be able to speak about some of our accomplishments. I'd like to first thank Gov Executive and Next Government for providing this collaborative forum and making sure that as a federal workforce, we are always connected and we are always informed about what's going on. So thank you very much. Am I still on? Okay, we're on our slides, good. So I am the executive officer for the National Institutes of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. I'm going to call it NIDDK from this point on, so it's much easier to hear. And that's part of the National Institutes of Health. And I lead all of the business functions to support the mission of the science. It's an organization of about 1,300 people and a little over $2 billion. And so what I'd like to do today is talk about all of our efforts related to performance and engagement and using an analytic tool in order to do that. And like every leader in this room, no matter what level of leadership you are in, I will assume that you agree that it is our responsibility to take care of the people of the organization. It is our responsibility to make sure that we create a culture where our employees can flourish. I'm just trying to see. Okay, oops, okay, so I went forward. Okay. So I think that there are two principles that are really important for us if we want to make sure that we create such a culture. One is that your organization is performance-centric, and the other is that engagement is paramount. And no matter how you think about these two principles, what's most important is that they are integrated into the daily activity of your office. They are part of your functions. They are part of your mission. They are not something that is distinct and that you do on the side apart from your daily activities. And what's really important, every leader has a vision and every leader has core values that they believe. And what's most important is that those core values translate onto the front lines, where the people of the organization are doing the work day in and day out. And there are many ways that we can make sure that we are tapping into the voice of the people. We do it through town halls. We do it through having our direct reports be our ambassadors on the front line. We have surveys. We use ideation tools, stay interviews, exit interviews. And one important tool that we regularly use in federal government is the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey. It is a treasure trove of information about what the people of the organization think, how their organization is doing, where they're doing well, where they could improve, and what they think of their leaders. But the way that information is delivered to us, it's not easy to decipher, and every agency spends weeks and months trying to figure out what is the voice of the people. So I turned to my colleague, one of my senior analysts, Robin Clevens, who is with me today, and I asked her if she could create a framework that we could use to really understand this information. And she, together with V. Tran, who is also an analyst on my team, went to work for 2 years, and what they created is a masterpiece. It brings to life the voice of the people. And we call it EVS ART, the Employee Viewpoint Survey Analysis and Results Tool. And it is so impactful in bringing to life the voice of the people in 5 simple steps in 5 minutes so that you can see the themes and what's most important, that we have been gifting it across government. We've probably had over 100 meetings now where you're gifting it to any of our federal sister agencies. So if you're a Fed and you're not familiar with it, we would be happy to gift it to you today. And marrying up technology and analytics with the voice of the people is a powerful combination. And so what I would like to do now is take a little time to talk about how we are using that combination to put in place targeted interventions and strategic initiatives to make our workplace one in where our employees can flourish. And I want to start by talking about performance. So what you see here, this is using our EVS ART tool, and what you see here is an organization that was greatly underperforming, woefully underperforming. They had a vote of no confidence from the scientists across the institute, and I was getting complaints, things were not going well. So I stepped in with a multi-pronged, targeted approach. And this approach included many things, included putting in place standards and accountabilities and metrics for productivity. It included scouring the field to see what the best practices were and make sure we could adopt them. it included creating a new vision and making sure the leaders of the organization embraced the vision. And if they didn't, they needed to move on. Mediocrity could no longer be acceptable. There had to be consequences for poor performance. But we also had to make sure that the people of the organizations had the tools and resources to do their job, and that we were rewarding creativity and innovation. And I made sure that the people of the organization knew in real time what we were doing and why, and that they had a voice. And over the course of a year, this organization transformed. I knew it because service was improving. Complaints were down. When you're the senior executive and it's an underperforming organization, everyone's calling you. Complaints were way down. And I saw that there was relationships being forged between the scientists and these staff. And using EVS art, we were actually able to validate that our efforts were paying off. And so what you see here is the actual scores of this organization from one year to the next. And this is quite astounding, quite remarkable, but it was telling us that the efforts we were putting in place could actually affect change in a year's time in a positive way. Now, when you are dealing with an underperforming organization, you all know it takes a village, and it takes more than a year. And so this is an organization that we continue to work with, and using EVS art and our FEVS results, you can see that we continue to be a very high-functioning organization now. Now, in addition to working with underperforming organizations, I do many things to try to make sure that the entire community of our employees understands that we are performance-centric and that performance is really important and key. So one, our employees are seeing that these underperforming organizations are doing much better. And so there are obviously some standards and accountabilities. We make sure that we have performance conversations between managers and employees that are worthwhile. And we give our employees prompts so that when they go into performance-related conversations, they are armed with the questions that could be helpful to them to make sure they walk away with what they need to understand expectations. I also do many things such as try to make sure all of our supervisors are defining outstanding versus excellent versus satisfactory in similar ways. And that when you have an underperformer, the supervisor is not turning a blind eye, but we are handling those issues and making sure we're having the right conversations. And what I would like to show you is that this has really paid off for NIDDK. What you see here is one of the questions on the FEVS survey, and it is probably the lowest scoring question across government. In my work unit, steps are taken to deal with poor performers who cannot or will not do their job. And what you will see is that NIDDK in our EO office, we have had resounding results. I mean, there are leaders that say you cannot affect change in this way, but we are proof of concept that it can actually happen. So now I want to switch and talk about some of our engagement efforts. They are still also related to performance as well, but I thought it was important to talk about some of the novel grassroots efforts that we have going on to take care of the people of the organization. So we know from the survey that our employees want to get a better job. They want to make sure that they're getting constructive feedback. They want to have career development opportunities. They want to receive meaningful recognition. And so with these things in mind, we have put forth many different programs at NIDDK to try to make sure that we are doing just that. So the Developing Professionals program, I meet with every new employee to give them a personal welcome. And I came to understand that many of our junior people coming through pathways and other walks of life to become a Fed, this was their first federal job. And it might have been their first professional job. And so it was an opportunity to create a cohort. And so we brought all of these developing professionals together. And the goals of having them meet was to build their own community where they could network with each other because they're all kind of in the same boat, make sure that we are teaching them the professional skills that will serve them well, and to make sure we are infusing the core values into their thoughts and actions that are going to help them be the next generation of leaders. And that program is very successful. Another one has to do with the mentor program. Everybody in this room knows it's important to have mentors. It doesn't matter how senior you are, how experienced you are. But most of your staff have no idea how to go about finding a mentor. They're not sure that their supervisor will allow them the time. They don't even have the courage as to how do I go and investigate who would possibly be a mentor. So with that in mind, we put in place a framework. We created a mentor program. And we sought out to the 1,300 people who would like to be a part of this. And they had to have endorsement from their supervisor. So now we had the commitment that their supervisor was going to allow them time. We helped them to understand what the expectations were to be successful. And we launched them and gave them the tools to go out and find mentors. And it has been an incredibly successful process for them. And it has helped them with their career goals and their aspirations and to be able to move forward. The other thing that I think is a really important thing to know is opportunities abound. And so what's so important is that in everyday activities, there are opportunities, and you need to be thinking about this all the time. So for instance, take your child to work day is a wonderful opportunity to build the community. So I take my EO office, and on that day, I transform it into a slime bar. The entire office transforms, and I invite all of the employees that are bringing in their children to stop by. And I'll tell you, the kids love the slime better than some of the science, but I won't say that to the scientists. But while the kids are playing with the slime, I'm talking to the parents. I'm talking to scientists that are normally holed up in labs. I'm finding out what's going well, where are their pain points, a little bit about them and their career goals or the things that they're working on, and it's building community. Another opportunity is that I'm often, because we're very performance-centric, I'm often meeting with supervisors that are having issues with employees. And I had come to see that many new supervisors are grappling with the same things. I was a peer, and now I'm the supervisor. I inherited an underperforming person. I was hired as a leader because I'm a technical expert, but I don't have the skills in leading people yet. And so with this in mind, we created a new supervisory community of practice. And so by doing that, again, I brought a community of people together that could commiserate and understand and learn from each other and network. And then we brought in experts in all the different areas to help them begin to develop the skills that they needed for constructive conversations or how do you lead and motivate and whatever else it may be. What's most important, and one of the things that I want to have as a takeaway is we are doing things year-round based on the voice of the people. And we have a campaign. You speak, we listen, this happens. And so no matter what I am rolling out, be it an SOP, be it a new program, be it clarification on expectations, whatever it is, those notes, those letters, those communications always say that this has been put in place in part because of your voice and your feedback and what you found most meaningful. The other quick thing I want to say, when I'm talking about all these programs, when you look around your federal workforce, people that are in the federal workforce are committed and passionate about public service. And everybody is so devoted to wanting to make a difference. And everybody has talents that far expand beyond the functional area that you're leading or you're working in. And so I take advantage of that. I harness that passion. And I have people from all over the organization that are helping me with the mentor program, or helping me with the slime bar, or helping me with the new communities related to developing professionals, whatever it is. And so they get engaged, they get extra experience, and it helps to just, you don't need a lot of resources, you're not having to bring in contractors or have big funds, but you're tapping into this wonderful, powerful group of people with lots of talents. So as I'm getting ready to close, I want to show you another very poor scoring question across government, and this is the belief in action. I believe the results of this survey will be used to make my agency a better place to work. And what you see again is that even in 2019, this was a woefully low scoring government-wide question at 41%. And now I'm going to show you NIDDK. So you see over time that we actually were able to transform and be able to put in place things that were intentional day in and day out through our organization to really make sure that we are creating a culture where our employees can flourish. So with that in mind, I would just leave you with a couple key takeaways that I think are really important. And they are to capture the people's voice. Make sure that whatever you're doing, and you've heard this through the panels, that you are capturing the voice of the people, that you are always looking for possibilities. There are so many opportunities in your daily activities that you can make something better and more and be inclusive and tap into the talents of others. Start your own campaign. You speak, we listen, things happen. It's as easy as being intentional with everything that you're sending out or anytime you're doing something for the people of the organization. And focus on making sure you are performance-centric and you are infused with engagement. And last but not least, if you do not have the EVS art tool, we have brochures here and we'd be happy to gift it to you. So thank you very much for your time.